Today we are talking about artificial intelligence and that it's not what you think. Most people have a completely misunderstanding of artificial intelligence, and we're going to see that that AI can have a very negative impact on humanity, and it could be the end of humanity, but in a certain sense. And we're going to see that it's not what you think at all, and in fact it has already begun. So that's what we're going to take a look at today. And in doing so, I want to show you that this article on mindmatters.ai, which is a fantastic site that says, will AI overtake humans? Only if we let it. It says we are getting too cozy with dependence on high tech to ease the burden of thinking for ourselves. And this is all going to have to do with thought, the development of thought, what thought is, and how one uses thought to acquire knowledge and intelligence. So it says, as I reported last year, there's been a lot of talk about a singularity in the last decade. That's the point where machine intelligence exceeds human intelligence and begins to rule humanity and eventually the entire universe. Now, I believe that this was in fact something that Elon Musk said. I mean, a lot of people say this, but I think Elon said this as well, that AI should be the thing that humanity should be most afraid of, or the biggest threat facing humanity, and something like in 2025, it's going to overtake, something like that. Now, and it's interesting because it says, you know, it will exceed human intelligence and rule humanity and eventually the entire universe. Well, here's the thing. If that were the case, it would have already happened, because there are, you know, billions upon billions of planets in the universe, you know, probably even more than that. Who knows? Just an absolutely astronomically high value. And so AI would have developed on some planet somewhere at some time, right? And many, you know, billions of years before us, AI would have already developed. And if AI was going to take over the universe, it would have already done so, because it would have already have developed. It would have reached the singularity. It would have, you know, its intelligence would have rose exponentially in a very short amount of time, and it would have taken over the universe. So if that was going to happen, it would have already happened by now. So it's a scary proposition to be sure, but we can rest easy on that front because it's not going to happen. So we're going to see that that AI poses two kinds of threats, but it's not what you think. And it also has to do, though, with our development, because we're going to see that in building technology, we are actually building our avatars or our bodies for the future. But there's a very big difference between building a virtual avatar or building a technological avatar, a technological body, and AI, because they're not the same thing. They're very, very different, because one is artificial intelligence and then one is just regular intelligence. But just we'll see what happens here. So and then it shows a cover of this book. It says The Myth of Artificial Intelligence, Why Computers Can't Think the Way We Do. It says the futurists assume that there is a bridge between the narrow applications of AI and the general intelligence humans possess. But no such bridge exists. As Eric J. Larson explains in his book, The Myth of Artificial Intelligence, we're not even on the right road to such a bridge. You can also take George Gleider's word for it, one of the most influential thinkers on technology and economics in the last 40 years. Thinks the idea of a singularity where AI usurps human minds is delusional. So real quick, I want to explain to you here that in the materialist conception of reality, in which it's viewed that reality is material and only material, artificial intelligence can never become conscious. And the reason why, or sentient or conscious, and that's because matter, which is a mind-independent substance, can never give rise to consciousness or sentience. It is a total logical fallacy. And that means also that brains cannot give rise to sentience and consciousness. And that might seem kind of strange to you if you're new here or have never heard this before, because it's been so ingrained in humanity that consciousness / sentience / subjectivity comes from the brain. But that is actually a complete and total logical fallacy. There are many scientists starting to fall away from this idea. A lot of them are abandoning it because they know it's a fallacy. A lot of them are becoming panpsychists. We're not panpsychists, by the way, but a lot of them are. Neuroscientist Michael Egnor has abandoned the materialist model in favor of panpsychism or idealism, because his work in neurosurgery shows that has convinced him that the brain cannot account for consciousness or subjectivity, which is absolutely true. And also this was pointed out by the discoverer of calculus, Leibniz, in Leibniz's Mill, showed why it's so absurd to think that mind or sentience can come from something that is posited to be mind independent. But also what I want to talk about, though, is in terms of Hyperionism and ontological mathematics. So what about from an idealist perspective? Specifically, the idealist perspective of ontological mathematics and Hyperionism. In Hyperionism and ontological mathematics, AI cannot become conscious and cannot become sentient, even though it is composed of material that is ultimately mentally reliant on mind. Because in Hyperionism and ontmath, matter isn't actually matter. It's sort of an illusion that's dependent on mind, so it's not mind independent. So if you form some sort of computer, that means at its heart, it is actually founded on mind. But the thing is that first of all, a computer object is finite, and you as an eternal monadic mind are infinite. Because every single one of us are eternal monadic minds, and each one of us forms a complete and consistent set of mathematics, and in that we are infinite. And so computers, brains, things like this, they are finite in a certain sense. There's a lot of semantic and technical ideas here that we could dive into and pick apart. But in general, talking about it in a simplistic way, they're finite in a certain sense. So, for example, when it comes to computers and computation, they engage in, when it comes to mathematics, what is known as curve fitting, where they are approximating mathematical functions. They do not have, the capacity for infinite information processing. You, as an eternal mind, are an infinite system, and thus you can't have a computer or something like that give rise to consciousness. So the difference is that in Hyperionism, a monadic mind links to a body to use as its avatar, and the brain acts as a filtering mechanism that localizes a mind and gives it finite data to work with. This is kind of known as brain filter theory. You can look this up. So in Hyperionism, we support brain filter theory, which instead of the brain acts as a filtering mechanism. And the other idea here is that in Hyperionism, what matter is collective thoughts. So every single one of us is a mind. There's a difference between mind and thought. The easy way to understand this is if you can do this experiment right now, is that you are a mind. That's what you are. Now, if you close your eyes and imagine an apple, that's a thought. That thought is not the same thing as a mind. You are a mind that is thinking a thought, which is the apple. The apple itself, it doesn't have a sentient experience. The apple doesn't have its own hopes and dreams and experiences. You do. You're forming the thought of an apple. So everything around you is a collective thought formed by the frequency components, constituent frequencies of every single one of us, every monadic mind in existence. Not just humans, every monadic mind in existence. And so everything around you is a collective thought. And the collective thoughts can either establish a monadic link or not, which is a frequency function interacting with a space-time function. Certain space-time functions, such as plants and animals and human bodies, relay intricate sensory information through their sense organs and thus can establish a monadic link. I'm getting a little bit off topic here. I've done more videos on this. I think I've done a lot of videos about this subject, so I don't want to get too off topic. But the idea here is that artificial intelligence, whether you're coming from the materialist ontology or the idealist ontology, cannot itself become conscious, cannot itself become sentient. However, you can perhaps create one that can establish a monadic link. We'll get to that in a moment. That's not what I want to focus on now, but we will talk about that in a moment, where we can talk about how we are actually creating our avatars for the future. We're creating new bodies for our future localizations. We'll talk about that in a moment. But first, I just want to set in stone that we're starting off from the foundation that AI is not something that is going to gain consciousness. It's not something that's going to gain sentience on its own in the way that people ordinarily conceive it to be. And it's also not going to take over the universe, because if it had that capacity, it would have already done so, because planets would have developed AI a long time ago before us, and it would have already taken over. So let's see. So anyway, they're emphasizing here that AI and general intelligence, or AI cannot have the intelligence that humans possess. No such bridge exists. We're not even the right road to such a bridge. Nowhere near it. George Glider agrees, who is the most influential thinkers on technology and economics. And in his 2020 book on the subject, Gaming AI, Why AI Can't Think But Can Transform Jobs, Glider shows that despite recent impressive successes in games like Go, StarCraft II, and even poker — I love StarCraft, by the way. I haven't really played StarCraft II, but I used to. StarCraft was awesome. Anyway, artificial intelligence is, quote, just the next steps in computer science. AI, as he demonstrates, real intelligence is not a game. So in carefully defined tasks, AI can perform with tremendous speed and efficiency, allowing it to find pathways to success in things like games, data synthesis, and even the biological puzzle of protein folding. But it doesn't begin to threaten human minds. There's another thing also that I want to talk about. I'm just going to throw this in here. This isn't completely on topic, but there's something that I just kind of want to throw in here. There's a difference between acquiring data and intelligence. Human beings, a lot of human beings who people think are intelligent, are not intelligent. They have just acquired a lot of data. They have acquired a lot of facts. The way one becomes truly intelligent is how conscious one is. The more that one is conscious, the more intelligent one is. Has nothing to do with acquiring data and acquiring facts. Acquiring data and acquiring facts can help. Absolutely. So I shouldn't say it has nothing to do with it. It can help. It's a great thing. But on its own, acquiring data and facts is not intelligence. And there's this example that's kind of a silly example, but kind of gives you a flavor for the idea, is that knowing that a tomato is a fruit is acquisition of data. Knowing that you shouldn't use a tomato in a fruit salad is intelligence. Kind of a silly example, not completely accurate, but it gives the kind of idea of what one is talking about. One can have a lot of data, a lot of facts, but be very unintelligent, not be able to use those facts correctly, not be able to connect those facts into a coherent pattern, to be able to give rise to a unity and see how they interact together. That's why in Hyperionism, the way to achieve hyper-awareness is metacognition, thinking about thought, concept networking, the ability to connect disparate thoughts into a unified whole, and then the phenomenological aspect, which is the experience of what it is like to be the absolute or existence. And that goes further than what we're talking about today. But so anyways, the idea here is that AI is nowhere near human intelligence. It doesn't begin to threaten human minds. And I want to emphasize again, thinking about this in that AI can never become conscious. There is no way that it can become sentient. So and one asterisk that I want to put here is that if an AI somehow became sentient, we would have to completely and totally reframe our understanding of existence. There is no way in how we understand existence that could possibly be. It is completely and totally impossible in the materialist framework, and completely and totally impossible in almost all frameworks. So while this is good news for humanity, we shouldn't be too quick to breathe a sigh of relief yet. AI could still get the better of us in a different way if we give it permission to do our thinking for us. And these are the two things that I want to talk about today and really hit on. One, the danger and threat of AI and getting it to do our thinking for us. And two, how even though AI is not possible, that we are developing technological avatars for our future selves. Those are the two main points that we're going to hit on today. So first of all, the threat that AI could get the better of us in a different way if we give it permission to do our thinking for us. So remember the humans in the Disney Pixar film WALL-E? So cruising through space in the comfort of their high-tech armchairs, they rely on AI and bots to eat, drink, communicate, learn, and entertain themselves. So if you've ever seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen the movie, it's about a future scenario where humans just have completely rely on technology to the fact where they can't even, they basically don't even move. They just sit there, and then AI does all their thinking, all their decision making for them, brings them everything. They basically don't do anything at all. So they have everything they need to be happy, but they have lost the ability to even walk for themselves. Even more crucially, they have also given up the practice of thinking for themselves. AI makes the decisions for them. What meal to eat, what hairstyle to get, what color of outfit to wear. They are so conditioned to their lifestyle that merely the suggestion of a new choice on the screens around them is enough to make them to respond to it en masse. The humans in Wall-E's dystopian vision of the future haven't been conquered by a hostile AI that has surpassed human intelligence. That's not what's happened. But they're still a vanquished people. They have happily handed the reins of their lives over to machine intelligence in favor of the comfort, convenience, and perceived security it brings for them. So that's the idea here, is that in that scenario, in the movie, AI didn't become, overtake humanity in intelligence. They didn't, sort of surpass humanity and conquer them. But what it did was it just resulted in humanity being unable to think for themselves, because they gave all tasks, every task, over to AI and bots. So it says, what about us? The Wall-E example may here seem a bit far-fetched, but let's look at where we are now. We're getting cozy with digital assistants like Alexa, Siri, and Google Home, trusting the AI behind those platforms with answers to questions, weather info, and control of our home appliances. We're also growing more comfortable with speaking with AI on customer service calls, even though that's a pain in the ass, and it's almost useless now because I can never get an answer that I want. Anyway, we can't go on very long with our smartphones. Much of our daily thinking is getting guided by apps and algorithms. They manage our habits, decide whose posts we see, suggest entertainment, and connect with all other smart gadgets. We use Bluetooth trackers so we never lose our valuables, and fitness trackers to formalize our exercise plans. Instead of paper maps, we plug destinations into GPS and let AI tell us where to go. We are getting used to AI-driven contactless interactions like Uber rides and restaurant delivery systems. AI is also becoming a bigger presence in other areas of life too, including loan applications, HR decisions, data platforming, medical decisions, and even crime deterrence in offices and cities. Where are we headed with all this? Will we be sitting in the metaverse 20 or 50 years from now with AI and bots tending to our every need while we let our physical lives slip by? If we don't check ourselves, we might. Computers work to the extent that they serve human minds, says Glider. We determine our future relationships with artificial intelligence. Either we continue to safeguard human thinking while using AI to enhance human capability, or we buy into the materialist superstition that AI can give us the utopian freedom we deserve and jump into our high-tech armchairs. Now, here's the thing that I want to say about this. So this article is I would say, right and wrong. So, can we rely on and remember, we have two different things we're talking about here. So let's address the first on AI sort of destroying humanity by letting them do all the thinking and decision making for them, while minds essentially degrade and rot. So that very well could happen, and we do see this happening today. We see this happening today on many social media platforms, and TikTok is the most obvious example of this, in where you get into TikTok and it is designed to be addictive. All social media platforms are. TikTok is just extremely effective. I'm not going to say all. Most popular social media platforms are, and certainly the most successful social media platforms are designed to be addictive. And TikTok is a great example of this. It's designed to make you log in and then sort of grab your attention and have these short bites of dopamine hits, and you want to keep getting more and more and more and more. And pretty soon an hour goes by and it hardly has seemed like it, and you've watched 300 cat videos or something. It is designed to know what you like and know what keeps you on the platform, and to show you more of what you like and more of what keeps you on the platform. And then that just reinforces itself. The longer you stay on the platform, the more that it knows what you like, and the more that it knows what to show you to keep staying on the platform. So it's this program that's designed to be addictive, designed to give you these dopamine hits, and not in any way designed to increase your intelligence, or not designed in any way to increase anything that would sort of better your life. Do you think that these companies who design these social media platforms care what makes your life better? They don't care what makes your life better. They just care what keeps you on the platform, keeps the watch time up, so that you can watch more ads and add to their bottom line. So yes, AI in forms like this are absolutely degrading the mind of humanity. And yes, that if it goes on unchecked, that can become increasingly so and have a devastating effect on humanity. However, I do want to say, when they talk about things like Uber or restaurant delivery or like Alexa or Google Home being able to turn on your lights, or like tracking your fitness and things like that, are those things bad? No, not necessarily. What we want to do is we want AI to be able to handle mundane things. We want AI to be able to handle things that we don't necessarily like. If we could get AI to, and I'm sure we will at someday, to be able to fold our clothes and do all the chores, and even we have technological advancements like dishwashers so that we don't have to wash the dishes. Those things are good, because guess what? That frees up our time. Instead of, taking 30, 45 minutes to wash the dishes, you have a washing machine that can do it for you. Guess what? That gives you 30, 45 minutes of your day where you can do something to increase your intelligence, or increase your knowledge, or increase your quality of life. So having AI or technology in general being able to take over menial tasks, nothing wrong with that whatsoever, as long as it's done in a healthy way. So pointing to that as signs of degradation, I don't think is correct. However, pointing to other signs like addictive algorithms, that is absolutely correct. Now, that's why in a new world that we want to create, a Hyperion new world, it does not have to be like that. It depends how one uses AI and algorithms. Instead, we can build social media platforms which, instead of being designed to be addictive, are designed to increase your quality of life. We can design algorithms in AI instead of, just simply designed to be addictive and to keep you on a platform for no other reason, just for the sake of time spent so you can view more and click on more ads. Algorithms could be designed to give you exactly what you need to have a better life. And I don't mean like quick little dopamine hits to give you just little pieces of pleasure. That's like just having crack cocaine every day and like, oh yeah, it feels good for a second, but it's going to degrade you over the long term. And that doesn't mean you can't have little hits of dopamine every now and then. That's totally fine. But the idea here is not to just have that constantly, to give you what you need to have a true, satisfactory, better life, to be able to give you things that you need to have to increase your intelligence, to increase your knowledge, to increase your mental well-being in the form of psychology and therapy and help and knowledge, and forming true connections with others, having powerful, meaningful experiences. All these things can be given to you to drastically increase your quality of life, your satisfaction, your own actualization. But right now, phones and smartphone applications are designed to be like, hits of crack cocaine or something like that. And this will lead to the degradation of humanity. It does not have to be this way. We can absolutely design algorithms to give you an amazing quality of life and increase your actualization and optimization. So the way that things are headed right now, yes, it could absolutely, and already does, as we can see with people who just waste all their time scrolling through social media and doing nothing else. This is leading to the degradation of humanity. But it doesn't have to mean we have to give up tech. We don't have to, we don't have to get rid of washing machines or not take Uber rides because that somehow diminishes us. No, that frees up our time, and that's perfectly fine. We want to be able to give up these trivial, mundane things so that we can focus on having meaningful experiences together, having a great life, working on ourselves, creating art, acquiring knowledge, learning about ourselves, expanding our consciousness, expanding our awareness. All of those things are beautiful things we should be able to focus on, and AI can be helpful in that. Just like a dishwasher helps us wash the dishes, AI can take care of menial tasks that we don't need to be focusing on. Now, the other topic that I want to discuss is the fact that even though that AI cannot come to sentience or consciousness, we can design, because remember, in Hyperionism, we're all eternal monadic minds. And we as monadic minds link to these avatars, these human bodies, to be able to experience, learn, and grow in the holos. And this is the holos being what the public calls the material world, the space-time universe. So the brain acts as a filtering mechanism. Not just the brain, but the brain and nervous system and the human avatar as a whole acts as a filtering mechanism, allowing us as non-local monadic minds to localize in the holos. Long story short, that means it allows us to experience the physical world. Instead of being non-local beings, we can experience locality through an avatar. It's sort of like the VR headset that we put on, metaphorically speaking, to experience this world. As eternal minds, it's sort of like the VR headset that feeds us the information and the data of this world. So, and that's the difference right there. Not completely accurate, but if you're new to this, that's the difference between sort of Hyperionism and ontological mathematics and standard materialism. Standard materialism would say that the VR headset sort of generates the mind, which is fallacious. Whereas in Hyperionism, you are an eternal mind, and the brain, body, and nervous system is like the headset that you put on that gives you the information to experience the world. Not exact analogy, but it's close enough to give you a flavor. Check out my other videos for a lot of detailed information on that. So the idea here is that that's all that bodies are. Bodies are space-time functions that are complex enough to allow a frequency function, a monadic mind, to establish a link to it and provide it with sensory information through sense organs, allow it to process information, to feed information to the monadic mind for processing. So it's very possible that we could create technology, machines, to be able to establish a monadic link, meaning that a monadic mind could link to, instead of a human body, some sort of technological avatar. Instead of a biological human avatar, a technological avatar. Because technology is not as distinct from nature as humanity perceives it to be. The difference between technology and quote-unquote nature, as if they're different, is that technology is just human-guided evolution. Humans just don't realize that that's what they're doing yet. They don't know that they're an extension of evolution, but they are. And so technology we can use to create advanced avatars, and most likely in the future this won't just be sort of reliant on robotics, but it'll probably be a virtual / robotic avatar hybrid, in which we can have virtual avatars in a virtual environment, and that can switch between robotic avatars in a the sort of space-time environment. And what this will allow us to do is greatly expand our abilities and our functions, because we'll have complete control over the processing of our of that filtering mechanism. Right now we have the brain, which is a filtering mechanism that filters our biology and filters our experience, not for happiness or even satisfaction or quality of life, just for survival. That's it. Your brain and body and nervous system did not develop for your happiness or for your quality of life. It developed for your ability to adapt and survive. Adapt and survive. And sometimes a lot of negative things, like an overabundance of anxiety or something of that nature, or a narrowing of your field of experience, is advantageous to your survival and adaptation, but not necessarily to your quality of life, happiness, etc. So we can develop avatars in which we can adjust all those filtering mechanisms to give us the optimal filter to be able to have a beautiful quality of life and to be able to experience all the parts of life that we could be missing out on right now, to even switch between different frequency channels as well. And this has already begun in a certain way, because the way that this is going to start is not necessarily just by developing these virtual avatars or virtual technological robotic avatar hybrid. What will happen is that it's going to start off as human augmentation. Human augmentation in the form of, what's often discussed in transhumanism, in augmenting the human body through technology. And that's just one step towards this idea that I'm talking about here. Human augmentation, technologically augmenting the human avatar is just a step towards that. It really is. And we have already begun doing that. It's just not, so for example, you wearing glasses, you have technologically augmented your avatar by wearing glasses. And, someone who has maybe like a robotic prosthetic leg or something like this has augmented their avatar in which their avatar was missing something that the general population has. And so these augmentations have already occurred. They just haven't been fully, in the case of like the glasses, it just hasn't been fully integrated. But what does that really matter? What does it matter if it's fully integrated or not? Really, that's sort of an arbitrary distinction that we have come up with. And the smartphone. The smartphone is making sure I didn't. Okay. The smartphone is. Sorry, I lost my train of thought because I'm making sure I don't want to dox myself there. The smartphone is just another technological augmentation of the human body. It is a new technologically developed human organ. That's what it is. It's a new human organ that has been developed technologically, and it gives us this new sense. What is this new sense? It's a sense of global connectivity. The human smartphone gives us, as humans, this new sense of global connectivity where we can be aware of everyone around the globe who also has this organ and is transmitting information. So this is an organ that allows us to transmit information and receive information from the global collective. And what does it matter whether it's integrated to us or if it can be removed or not? I mean, you could probably feel like if you ever left your phone at home, you probably felt like you have left a piece of you behind. And someone today, if let's say someone was not allowed, for some reason, let's say someone was not allowed to use a smartphone. They were banned from smartphones they would have a huge disadvantage. They would have a huge, kind of like a disability, even as much as someone who was missing a limb or something. So as someone who, the person who was not allowed to use smartphones would have a huge disadvantage in life. They would be missing, not be able to do a lot of things that we are able to do. So you can see how it's already begun with things like augmentations like glasses, things like new technological organs like the smartphone. They just haven't been directly integrated into the body. At some of them, in the case of prosthetics, they have. But this will reach a point where, like Musk's Neuralink, where he's trying to develop this technology. Now, I'm not saying whether that's good or not. I'm just using that as an example of that being in the works. Eventually, it will be integrated with the human body. Humans will be able to have augmentations and etc. And at some point, when humanity develops the necessary level of intelligence of understanding what reality is, they will be able to develop fully virtual technological avatars for minds to be able to link to and experience and expand their horizons. Now, of course, we want to be able to do this in a non-capitalistic oligarchical society, because that would become a hell. Because in that case, you would be you would be engaged in these sort of virtual prisons where you have to watch ads before you're able to interact in reality, and where all the best augmentations and abilities are reserved for those who can afford it, that is the rich elite, creating a division in human evolution where you have the technologically advanced and augmented rich elite who can afford it, and then the so-called lower class slave race that cannot, and thus are dominated and used as slaves by the rich elite. And that is a slave system that can very easily develop if we do not create a new world where instead that is not the case and everyone is given access equally to be able to evolve and actualize in as far as they are able to take themselves. So everyone has equal opportunity. That is the world that we want to create, not some sort of slave-like hierarchy that will develop if we continue to have an oligarchical capitalistic society. Now, real quick, I want to put in an asterisk. We are not communists. A lot of the time when I say I'm anti-capitalist, people automatically think that, oh, well, that must mean you're communist. Just like when I go, I am, against Christianity, that means, oh, well, you must, or against religion, oh, well, that must mean you're a scientific materialist, empirical atheist. No, that's not the case. That's a false dichotomy. We're not scientific materialists. We're not religious. We're not capitalists. We're not communists. We are a new idea, a synthesis of all previous ideas over and beyond all these, human invented concepts that are always missing and lacking. We present a unified, synthesized view of existence. So the idea here, the important thing to get across is that humanity could be heading into a very destructive place, and it is already beginning to head there. And it's leading that way because of an oligarchical capitalistic society run by private interests that doesn't give a fuck about you. They only give a fuck about making money. So they will design AI algorithms to keep you addicted and degrade your life, not giving a fuck about you or your quality of life. They just want your money, and they want you as workers. That's it. So they will continue to do this. It will only get worse as things like the metaverse develops, or whatever version of that ends up becoming popular, where you are constantly becoming addicted and just forced to engage in ad consumption and everything that goes along with this. When augmentation starts becoming a reality, human augmentation starts becoming a reality, and eventually new avatars as well, this also will be a dystopian nightmare, as the best augmentations and developments are reserved for those who can afford it, the rich elite class, creating a divergence in human evolution, creating this slave class and this ruler class, and this will lead to a slave-like system where, I mean, not even a slave, like literal slave system, and that is something we completely want to avoid. We don't want to. We want to create a completely different direction, where instead we use AI and algorithms to take care of menial daily tasks, freeing up your time so you can concentrate on what is important, and using algorithms to increase your quality of life, to increase your intelligence, to increase your knowledge, increase your psychological well-being, increase your chances of meaningful experiences, increasing your chance of enjoying life, increasing your chance of becoming a more actualized and having a satisfied experience, and then creating human augmentations and developments to be able to just actualize all those things even more, giving you abilities to access different experiences of reality, enhancing your cognitive capacity. All these different areas can be achieved through AI algorithm and augmentations, but only if we steer away from where humanity is already headed. And that is a slave society run by the billionaire oligarch class. We must instead head to a Hyperion new world with equal opportunity for all, true equity, and where everyone is working towards helping each other become a better version of themselves and increasing the quality of life for every individual and the collective. So this is just a small little glimpse of what we talk about a lot here on this channel. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe and check out all my other videos. This has little bits and pieces of everything. I go into detail on all the topics that we've mentioned in a lot more detail. So check out my other videos. And also, if you enjoy my work, consider supporting on Patreon. It's the best way to support my work, and you'll get access to our weekly secret live streams and hidden Discord server, The Citadel. We're having a secret live stream right after this. I want to give a shout out to everyone who supports on Patreon, especially Renaissance Fairy, Trent, Cassidy, Michael, Evie, Alan, Angela, Maria, Brian, Chubby Bunny, High Expectations, Jordy, Nicole, David, and Yelisavet, and everyone else. And yeah, if you enjoy my work, consider supporting. The link will pop up right over here. I appreciate it very much. Thank you, my friends.